Hello and welcome to joinDOTA League season number 7. After about 15 minutes delay, we're finally into the two-game series between Scary Faces and Elysium Gaming. It is worth noting that since Elysium did show up 15 minutes late, they have no reserve time. How the penalties go: at 5 minutes in, you're docked 30 seconds. At 10 minutes in, you're docked a minute. And then at 15, you have none. And then at 20, it's a def loss for game number 1. So fortunately enough, Elysium Gaming showed up right in time, so we don't have to go into the situation where Scary Faces win by default, which would be an absolute shame. As far as both of these teams are concerned, Scary Faces have had a very strong showing in the joinDOTA League season number 7, as well as in a lot of other Tier 2 European tournaments that they've been fairly active in. But as far as Elysium is concerned, I haven't really seen them play, and I don't think a lot of people have. They've had 2 series in the last month, and then before that, they haven't played since June, at least on record on joinDOTA.com. So, I really don't know what to expect coming out from Elysium. This is a pretty highly volatile game. This could go either way. I bet both of these teams tend to be on the more aggressive path, but pretty much stays true with most of your European teams. As far as the bans are concerned, as far as how this draft is going to open up, we'll see Leshrac Gyrocopter banned out by Scary Faces. No surprises there, as well, they were the team who had second pick, and then we'll see Tusk Bounty Hunter banned by Elysium. First pick Clockwork, followed by Lena Winter Wyvern. Really strong heroes on either side. As far as initiation, you can't really ask for anything much better than a Clockwork. And now combined with the Earthshaker, the range of initiation coming out from Elysium is pretty darn insane. That said, Clockwork and Earthshaker's damage output, at least until you get a lot of levels on both of these, or Blink Dagger on Earthshaker, isn't all that impressive, and their timing windows for that amount of damage are very limited. As far as Scary Faces are concerned, they have Alina. That's all the damage you really need. She has it all, really. You have AoE nukes and AoE stun, physical damage that scales off of your fiery soul, and an ultimate that can pierce BKB should you get Aghanim Scepter. Really just a jack of all trades, an incredibly good hero, and if Clockwork doesn't have a Blade Mail up and running, could very easily find himself burst down if he's not actually going onto Lena. That said, I think Blade Mail is going to be a very important item this game for the Clockwork himself to be effective at roaming around and hunting down maybe this Lena in particular. Scary Faces will probably be throwing her mid. As far as the next couple bans, Darkseer will be the ban coming out from Elysium Gaming. The Darkseer Winter Wyvern combo in and of itself is already pretty scary, and they already have the Lena to also capitalize on that vacuum setup, so would have been a very potent pick for Scary Faces and a pretty safe one at that. Phantom Lights are banned by Elysium Gaming. Despite having the Earthshaker on their side, they would have lacked a good amount of damage to actually kill off the PL, and in general a very annoying hero, so I can understand that, and I think the same holds true for Bloodseeker and Queen of Pain. In general, just heroes you don't want to have to deal with. I think at this point in the metagame, everybody will kind of agree that the heroes that are being banned are some of the best and some of the most annoying at this point. As far as what's next for Scary Faces, Rubik is the pick at the top of my list. Doesn't show that much about your draft. Is a pretty safe pick to throw in the third picking slot. Great against Earthshaker, getting your hands on the Fissure Steel, and pretty good defensively against Clockwork. You can always just lift the Clockwork outside of the cogs and bail out your buddies if they get initiated on. In general, I think it doesn't get much better. The only downside is if Scary Faces wanted to run their Lena as a support, wouldn't be an option, and instead they're going to go for a Naga Siren. A tad bit more on the defensive side, doesn't offer that setup stun or reliable setup stun like Telekinesis. Net, although pretty good for setting up Light Strike arrays, takes a long time, and I mean a long time, to actually get out there, and so it can be kind of annoying. But as far as heroes to reset after initiation from the enemy team, Song of the Siren is probably the best, if not the best, tool at doing so. This means that Scary Faces supports in and of themselves aren't going to have the greatest kill potential. Winter Wyvern and Naga Siren would much rather just get their experience, get their levels, and zone out the Clockwork, which they definitely can do. So this is going to allow Elysium to feel comfortable enough to pick up a Lion here. Both the Lion and the Earthshaker are going to rely on getting their level 6s pretty early on, and well, now we get to see some of the cores come out from either side. Templar Assassin for Scary Faces, pretty interesting there. Might be farming Naga Siren, or at least that's the vibe that I'm getting from Scary Faces draft, and maybe Elysium were kind of preparing for that with the Lion pick. Both Mana Drain and Hex are instant ways to kill off those illusions, so can somewhat deal with the pesky split push coming out from the Naga Siren, or at least inside fights her damage output's going to be mitigated. Scary Faces with this Templar Assassin pick are going to be bringing to the table a good amount of minus armor and a good amount of lockdown to back that up. A huge amount of burst damage can come through, but maybe the same can be said for Elysium. Mix of damage and minus armor for them as well. It's going to be the Shadow Fiend. This is a really risky Shadow Fiend pick. In the mid lane, Dire Templar Assassin versus Radiant Shadow Fiend is a matchup that we'll see every once in a while, and it generally favors the TA. Her lane matchup against Shadow Fiend is good. She always pretty much has a damage advantage against the SF, even when Shadow Fiend gets his maxed out souls, which is not something that most mid laners can actually attest to. And Shadow Fiend, if he gets denied heavily, can really struggle, especially if he has Winter Wyvern poking and prodding at him. They're going to need the Earthshaker to sit behind this Shadow Fiend if they want to put him in the mid lane, and even then, it's not going to be 100% guaranteed that Shadow Fiend is going to have a good time. He's going to rely on getting those stacks up in the jungle to come back into this game should that lane go poorly. So for that reason, I think that this might be a safe lane Shadow Fiend for Elysium Gaming. It all depends. Scareface is probably lacking their offlaner, although I guess you could run offlane Winter Wyvern. It's not something we see very often. But as to what offlaners are still left in the pool, there aren't any super amazing offlaners that are available. Against an Earthshaker line, it's going to be a very difficult lane to keep yourself alive in. Although we don't know what that third hero who's going, or for sure don't know who that third hero is going to be farming there is going to be. So, we'll just have to wait and see. As far as the ban coming out from Elysium, Sand King would be a reasonable ban, at least in my eyes. Offers a nice setup stun, but instead they're going to ban out the Centaur, another offlaner that could have worked pretty nicely for Scary Face's side. The resetting power of Song of Siren plus Stampede is almost insurmountable, but instead it's going to be a Clinks. I don't really know how Scary Faces are going to line this up. As far as their lanes are concerned, this is a pretty risky move coming out from them. Maybe dual lanes from Scary Faces would be the best solution here. They have a huge amount of damage, and by huge, I actually mean it's obscene. Templar Assassin, Clinks, Lina. It doesn't get more bursty and more damagey than those three. And with the meld minus armor and with Clink's raw physical burst, taking down Roshan is going to be an absolute piece of cake for Scary Faces. The biggest issue for them is going to be this laning stage, however. I don't see this Clinks having an amazing time, and then Ember Spirit will be coming out from Elysium. I think it's fair to say that Scary Face's lineup is a little bit riskier, just as a whole. Let me go ahead and fix my overlay, as unfortunately I am solo today. Hopefully that won't be bothering anybody too much. But, yeah, if it works out, if they can go from objective to objective, get their farm up on Scary Face's cores and just start taking down towers, Scary Face's heroes are going to be an absolute menace to the enemy team. I don't think Elysium are very well prepared to deal with from behind. Yeah, we'll just have to see how these lanes shake down. In general, I think... I don't really know who to favor in this draft. It all depends on how much impact the Clockwork's going to have. How well those initiations are going to go down, because Scary Faces, although they do have supports that can react to the hookshot initiation, they rely on their ultimates to be able to do so reliably, so, yeah. Pretty interesting game. Let's introduce our teams. On the Radiant side, it's going to be Elysium. We're going to have Yajitsu playing on the Shadow Fiend, BBK on the Ember Spirit, Ripper on the Earthshaker, Legend on the Clockwork, and last but not least, Fire Fist Ace on the line. For the Dire side, Scary Faces, the more familiar names, at least to me, Eknart, going to be playing on the Winter Wyvern, Ramesses on the Clinks. Templar Assassin will be handled by Urban Nishka. Their stand-in for today, Naga Siren, going down towards bottom, overshooting out a little bit. It's going to be State 21 on the Naga, and Lina is going to be handled by Shadowy. Let's see how these dual lanes match up. Lina, for now, doesn't really have a clear place where she's going to be going. Let's take a quick look at the starting items for everybody. Looks like Ramses, as kind of to be expected, is going to be farming. And one of the big benefits of having a Clinks is that you can just leave him solo safe lane against the Clockwork very easily. Winter Wyvern will probably poke and prod for the first level or two, just get a slight advantage for the Clinks. And then once he has that advantage, can very easily run with it and get quite a lot. So that'll allow them to move around and help out this bottom lane function. As an aggressive tri-lane, or an aggressive dual lane, State 21 as well as Shadowy, can be very potent. I'm not going to lie, it depends on who's going to be the farming role inside that bottom lane, and it looks like it's going to be Ember Spirit. I can see this Ember Spirit having a bit of difficulty. The physical damage coming out from Elysium is pretty pitiful. If I'm honest, the Earthshaker line and Ember Spirit really don't bring a lot of that to the table until you have higher levels up in your spells. They also don't have the magical damage to really deal with a Naga Siren. Even though she is a melee support, she's a very tanky one at that, especially starting Poor Man's Shield first. 6 armor with the guaranteed Poor Man's Shield block is going to be very hard to bring down, despite having a fairly low HP pool. Bottom rune spot looks like it's going to be pretty heavily contested, probably given the way of Elysium, but right now, we're met with a pause. Hopefully one that doesn't stick around too long. I don't really fancy looking at this waiting screen. I want to see some Dota. I think that's what we all came here for. Or at the very least, to check out your bets. Dota 2 Lounge is currently hosting this game on their website. Shout out to them for putting it up, and, well, thanks for tuning in. Thanks for placing some bets. Play some rares, win some rares, lose some rares. Is pretty much the name of the game. Well, yeah, top rune probably just going to be taken out by the Clinks. I don't expect Legend to really be able to put up a convincing show up in this top rune spot, since he doesn't really know for sure what's going on here. If we take a look at his vision, he's completely blind. He'll see Ramsey sitting next to the rune, but for all he knows, there could be 4 enemy heroes behind them. Although they're not, they're down towards bottom, and they're going to be spotted soon. Templar Assassin's going to approach the rune spot. They really want this. Fisher's going to be held. Ripper goes for the supports, as Urbanishka is isolated away. Templar Assassin will get the bounty rune. 2 bounty runes for Scary Faces. Raise 1, going to throw in State 21, but with the Light Strike Array connecting, they'll get out to safety. Now turn around. State 21 is charging forward, looks for the Riptide, can't get in range. Slugfest between both of these teams. I don't think anybody's going to die here, but important things happening on either side. Raise level 1 was skilled, Shadowfiend hoping for that first blood, and both bounty runes go to Scary Faces. So across the board, that's a really big win for them. With Raise level 1, Shadowfiend might be able to get a couple of CS, but not near enough to make up for the fact that he didn't get the bounty rune, he didn't get the gold for the kill, which is really what you want to be doing with this Raised level 1. Since he has the Wraith Bands inside his inventory, actually contesting this Templar Assassin's farm is going to be increasingly difficult. Although for now he's 2-0, he has no great way to sustain his mana. He's even going to ferry himself out of Clarity. I think that's a fine move coming out from Ninjutsu. He really needs these raises, or else he's just going to fall behind. Now that Psyblade's come up and now that the bottle is there for the Templar Assassin, she can very easily sustain herself. She'll take a little bit of damage here and there, but that harassment isn't going to stick because of the bottle. Down towards bottom lane, Ripper's going to eat a Light Strike Array, walks right into it. But I don't think he's going to die, although he's not going to be looking too healthy. And with only 1 tango, that harass is going to be very annoying for them to deal with. Clockwork, harass very aggressively up towards top lane. Although he's not going to die either, isn't having a great time, and it looks like Scary Faces are getting a slight edge over most of these lanes. But at least surprisingly to me is that Shadowfiend is doing a little bit poorer than one would have thought against the Templar Assassin. CSing quite well. With that Clarity running, he'll get a couple more raises under his belt to throw out, and the Psyblade harass isn't as incessant as it very well could be. Urbanishka is going to have another refraction, trading hits with Yujitsu, but now the defensive charges are out. Urbanishka is actually going to take a slightly worse trade. We'll have to see who that's actually going to favor. Salve will be popped by the Shadowfiend. He'll walk over to the side just to make sure that doesn't get cancelled. Then throws out a raise. When connecting on Urbanishka, a lot of damage on the TA. Can she actually secure these runes? I'm not so sure. The supports aren't going there, and when you do go for these dual lanes, it is a little bit harder to sacrifice a hero off of lane to make sure that your mid laner gets that bottle refill. Urbanishka doesn't have enough mana, or does have enough mana for another refraction, so should be fine. Clockwork, however, will get the bounty rune up top, so she'll rely on getting this DD, but it looks like she will, as Earthshaker and Lion haven't gone over there. Speaking of Earthshaker, Ripper going to be trading pretty aggressively with State 21, but nothing's actually going to happen. This Earthshaker's been pretty conservative with his fissure usage this game. Ward will be placed out by the Radiant side looking for a D ward. They'll be unsuccessful. The ward that's blocking their camp is very deep inside the spot, and usually look for a D ward about there for that one, but they're not going to find it. Instead, they look for the Fissure, but turn around with Light Strike Array and the Dragon Sled. It's more than enough nuke damage to secure first blood. Now BBK also taking a lot of right click from Shadowy as he's just standing still looking for the kill into State 21. Will they get it? They will. Only just. Lion with 60 attack damage will be able to secure that kill. I almost thought the Poor Man's Shield would have been enough, and Flare, for good measure, was thrown out just to make sure that Naga Siren would have died. So probably would have been a 1-for-1 trade either way, but oh no! The nuke onto the Ember Spirit will secure another kill for Scary Faces. I really don't have any idea what the Ember Spirit was planning on doing there, but double damage TA, absolute menace against this SF. Refraction is up again, and yeah, Jitsu needs to be careful. He'll try to eat through these charges, and he will do so successfully. But none of his raises actually connect. Now the Shadow Fiend has his bottle up and running, and 2 points up in the raise. This lane gets a little bit easier for him, can just nuke down the creep waves without Templar Assassin really being able to control that much. And an even lane in Shadow Fiend versus TA is a pretty good lane, I'd say, for Yujitsu. And he's also going to be looking for some sacks. Clockwork up top, going to take a lot of damage, slowed down by that Arctic Burn, but won't die. He'll walk away under his tower with those boots, and we'll be just fine. Legend's still getting experience out of this lane, although not as much as he might like to. Rune trade for either side. Bounty Rune going to be picked up by Ripper, and Invis Rune looks like it's going to be snagged by the Templar Assassin. I don't think this TA can get any kills with this Invis, but it is going to make her feel a lot more safe in this mid lane. Despite the fact that they'd probably bring some detection into the lane. Oops, Sleight of Fist looking to dodge that net, but not going to be successful. Light Strike Array will also connect. BBK has no Flame Guard. In fact, it's only a level 1 Flame Guard. Very interesting build coming out from the Ember Spirit. Huh. Alright, so let's talk about this for a second. Ember Spirits right now tend to go very heavily into the chains as well as into the Flame Guard for the magic damage to be able to contribute into these early fights. The only advantage to getting the early point in the Sleight of Fist, at least in my eyes, is to dodge projectile stuns, but the stuns coming out from his Scary Faces aren't incredibly easy to be dodged. Net from the Naga Siren, I guess, is okay, but even then, I think you'd only get 1 point in this slight. So this is going to rely on BBK getting his items up early for it to really come online and be effective. So it puts a little bit of pressure on the Ember Spirit to make sure that he's not getting out farmed. For now, he's doing fine, but that could end up biting him. Mid lane, Templar Assassin diving onto the Shadow Fiend. Pretty easy, straightforward kill there, setting up with the Invis Rune. Now Lion's coming in. He probably won't die, but yeah, it's just kind of the risk of the Shadow Fiend versus Templar Assassin lane. Once the TA gets her level 6, the Shadow Fiend has been playing pretty aggressively, trying to burn through those defensive refraction charges in the lane. And now Templar Assassin is going to start pulling ahead. If we take a look at the net worth chart, Scary Faces heroes are pretty much dominating that side. Clinks is getting free farm up in the top lane, has his Soul Ring already running, and it looks like he's going to go for the Orchid build. Not a build we see incredibly often anymore. Right now, the build that's in vogue is the Desolator Rush. Or maybe it's just casual Sage's Mask, who knows. But yeah, benefit for Orchid this game. I think it's quite good against the Ember Spirit and will very easily allow him to hunt him down. Ember Spirit has gone back for more points than the Flame Guard, and maybe it'll be able to set up some initiations for him with the 2 point slight. And he'll get the bottle refill, nicely done there. We'll just pass that over to Ripper as he's still under the effects of the fountain, and with that, we'll be able to sustain himself in this lane. But still, with the Arcane Boots, Naga Siren's going to be a constant nuisance. Just look at that Riptide harass. Top lane, Clinks gets one more shot into the Clockwork's head, and that's going to be a death for the Elysium offlaner. Pretty easy kill there in general, but now a double damage Templar Assassin, or at least a double damage in her bottle, is probably the next hero that Elysium need to deal with in some way, shape, or form. If anybody comes to this mid lane alone and shows their face to one of these traps, they very easily could go down. In fact, there's a very aggressive trap here under the trees. That probably will get dewarded, but even if it's not, might catch out a kill as well. Down towards bottom lane, looking for the Light Strike Array coming out from Shadowy. They're holding on to it. One raise will connect onto Shadowy. They need the long raise to connect as they go and split for the kill up top. They'll get the raise. The Lina will die. Now chasing forward for the Naga Siren. Stage 21 is burning down to this Flame Guard. Still taking a little bit less damage. Has a Riptide trying to burn through that shield. Will right click the Ember Spirit. He tanked too many tower shots. Naga Siren will get the kill before dying herself, and now Ripper will also fall. A very aggressive dive. Ripper juking through the trees. His jukes will not be enough. Eknard with that Arctic Burn flying around will be able to secure the kill. Now Clinks is joining the fray, looking for the snipe onto the Shadow Fiend. Bumps into him, is not going to open up yet. We'll wait until he goes for the creep wave. 2 raises have been committed, and those Serios doing a truck ton of damage. And Ramses will secure the 7th kill for the team. A big trade for Scary Faces as they pretty much mop up all those kills. Elysium going way too aggressive into that Naga Siren. The good news for them is to get some space for Legend. This Clockwork desperately needs his level 6 online before he can contribute, but even once he gets level 6, it is a Clockwork that has gone for the Flare build. And although I think it's a good build this game, and probably the right choice, it does hurt his solo kill potential quite a lot. Tier 1 tower in the mid lane going to take a lot of damage. Urbanishka with this DD rune should be able to take it down if nobody rotates in, but they're going to TP in the Shadow Fiend. Another refraction. Templar Assassin wants to look for the dive. They're going to drop the traps under the tower, and he's going to kill off Jitsu. And now look for Ripper. Another trap. The Lion is there, has an Earth Spike, but the Earth Spike misses. Looking for the Hex. The Hex is going to be there. The Enchant Totem, however, is not. Winter's Curse on Ripper. It's going to be demolished by this Templar Assassin chasing down with the Arctic Burn inside the mid lane. It's an absolute bloodbath as Templar Assassin is going to mop up her 4th kill of this game. Triple kill inside that trade. Now TPing away safely to base. The creeps have locked her in, but she finds a place back to safety. Now almost up to Blink Gold, 8.5 minutes in, 3-11. This game is falling off the hinges, and in the meantime, on the other side of the map, it looks like the heroes down towards bottom also picking some blood up on their hands. It is a support Lina after all for Scary Faces, and I guess the Naga Sirens want to be getting most of the farm inside this bottom lane. If you take a look at her CS, she's actually neck and neck with the Ember Spirit, but Ember Spirit, speak of the devil, is getting roamed on by the Clinks. Invised in. If they land a Light Strike Array, I do not see Ember Spirit surviving. He's literally 5 experience away from having his level 6. The Medallion Clinks so much damage, even without the Dragon Slave connecting, they'll zap him in the back with the Laguna Blade, easily killing him off. Clinks would have paid the world for one more creep to die before that, but still only level 5. This Ember Spirit's having a bad time, and I think Scary Faces are starting to run away with this game, and in a very convincing fashion, too. Templar Assassin's at the point where she has Mistwire Hammer up, and she's going to have a very fast Desolator. One of the big reasons why I think this Clinks isn't going for the Desolator build himself. He can afford to go for these smaller, more efficient items and just fight non-stop. Speaking of Clinks, he's going to be inside the woods. Looks to eat that big creep. Can he do it? He will, getting him a little bit of extra sustainability, and there's no detection. They have raises. Oh, they'll both miss, and Clinks will be able to run off towards the sidelines. And now Ramses wants to turn in. They have a sentry on the ground. They spotted out Ramses, still with a good amount of HP and 11 wand charges. So killing off this Clinks is very difficult. And he's going to go into the Ember Spirit. BBK turns around. One more shot is all that's necessary. He turns into the trees. Fissure is going to buy him a little bit of space. Wand charges will be popped. Winter's Curse comes out from the Winter Wyvern looking for Yujitsu. An absolute mess inside the Radiant Woods. Eknar looking for the TP. Do they have a way to cancel it? And Chant Totem will be there. And Eknar is bitten off a little bit more than he should be chewing. But in the meantime, Lion is going to eat a taste of his own medicine. The damage from the Clinks is not near enough. Yujitsu will be Light Strike right up. They need a little bit more right-click damage. One more shot will be sufficient. Shadowy turns around for the Dragon Slave. Flips onto both BBK as well as onto Ripper with the Cold Embrace. Eknar will survive, and now BBK in a bit of trouble. Where's the Templar Assassin on all of this? Farming in mid. Now she's going to make the rotation in. She has a trap, going to drop that onto the ground. Hookshot in from the Clockwork will go on to Legend. Legend just doesn't do enough damage with only 1 point into the battery assault. Might be able to get Eknard, but they've already lost their Ember Spirit. It's not over yet. Another trap cooling down on the Templar Assassin in just a second. Fissure will help. Trap is going to be held. I'm not sure why they didn't pop it, but regardless, it's 15-5. These teams are just going at each other's throat, and if we take a look at that trade, it's actually pretty good for Elysium, even though in numbers it is a disadvantageous trade for them. Just because of how well Scary Faces were doing up until that point. But that trade aside, huge Ancient stack for the Templar Assassin to be picking up here. A 5 stack of Ancients for Urbanishka. So much gold going her way, and now she has the completed Desolator, 11 minute 20. A very fast deso for her, and on top of that is probably going to have like 800 gold, give or take. It's a really scary start for her. A lot of the gold in that last fight is going to be going towards Elysium supports, and, well, they definitely needed it. Mid lane, Ramsey 666 going to go aggressively onto Fire Fist, trying to get that one more arrow shot, but won't be successful. So the Lion will survive by the skin of his teeth, but that's just scary. The Ramses can feel so comfortable to casually be on the enemy side of the map where the tier 1 tower once stood and go for a kill on a support where he doesn't really know where the entire enemy team is because he feels so confident running around whenever he has that death pact up. Is actually very tanky. Legend will look for a D-ward, and he will get it successfully. But I'm not sure how much that's going to mean in the grand scheme of things as Roshan is being attempted with the Medallion coming out from Ramses as well as Mel. 4.7 Mel. This Roshan is going to melt in a matter of seconds. Elysium need to move now, and even if they do, I think Roshan is already going to fall. They're just not in position to contest this, and Scary Faces will find themselves with another big advantage this game. Things are really scary. Elysium, how do they get back into this game, and how do they seize map control into their favor? It's going to rely on smoke ganks, and they need to find pickoffs with this Finger of Death. Right now, Scary Faces are being pretty aggressive and leaving their supports out solo, so maybe you can kill off this Naga Siren, but she spots out the Shadow Fiend with all of her mirror images. So it looks like the Naga Siren should be able to back, and even if they do find her, they'll need to have probably both the Earthshaker and the Lion to make sure that she's not able to get off that song. But yeah, Elysium need to start grouping up as 5, and that's not something that they really want to be doing. Shadow Fiend and Ember Spirit right now are very item reliant and need to get those core items up and running. Earthshaker going to be going aggressive with the Shadow Fiend behind the tower, but this Naga Siren's a little too speedy, I believe. They'll get one raise to connect, but State 21 is under the tier 2. They'll catch the hook shot in. Winter Wyvern's TPing in. They'll get the cogs onto State 21, but with the cold embrace, they can't even get that kill. Clinks is onto the back lines, killing off the Earthshaker, going on to Legend. One more shot is all they need to kill off this Clockwork. Looking for the song to cancel Legend's TP. Will it be in range? It will. And now Legend is almost assuredly going to fall. Shadow Fiend is caught in a corner. Light Striker raised there. Zeknar hunts over for this Clockwork. Flare will be thrown. Does a little bit of damage to State 21. With the Death Requiem, it's close, but not quite. 18-5. Elysium are falling apart. And I don't really see a great way to glue themselves back together. These lanes just didn't work out well enough for them to where they have any real items to speak of. If we take a look at their inventory, Shadow Fiend's trying to scrape together a mechanism, although pretty much a mandatory item when you're dealing with the Desolator and the Medallion and the Meld and the Riptide, all the minus armor coming out from the Scary Faces. Templar Assassin has a Blink and a Desolator, for Pete's sake, and an Aegis. Yeah, why not? They'll take a tier 1 tower even through the back door, or even without any creeps at the front door of the tower. Backdoor protection doesn't apply to tier 1s, but regardless, things are looking really good for SFZ. As long as Scary Faces don't get caught out alone and don't dive too aggressively, this game is looking pretty good for them. But if Elysium are able to catch Scary Faces when they go for an aggressive dive, and that is something that can happen when you're getting so far ahead as Templar Assassin, it kind of does get to your head. If they kill off that hero with 9,000 net worth, at this point they'll be getting so much for their team, and Blade Mail and the Clockwork certainly would help, and Blink on their supports would help even more. Right now, however, the supports have absolutely no money between them. If you take a look at their inventories, they have upgraded boots. Shadow Fiend caught out down towards bottom. They should be able to kill off Ijitsu. All he wanted to do was farm that mech. But one more shot with the Medallion effect, and that's going to be yet another kill for the Clinks. Inside the Radiant Woods, Winter's Curse on the Bold Legend, and to Ripper, the Templar Assassin, and the Laguna Blade from the left-hand side, which was absolutely completely unnecessary, as Templar Assassin even got the kill before the damage applied from Laguna. That just shows how far ahead Scary Faces really are inside this game. Net worth graph is not even pretty. The only hero that's out farming somebody on the side of Scary Faces on the Radiant team is the Shadow Fiend, with about 1,000 gold more than the Winter Wyvern. It's almost at the point where we consider calling GG, really. I don't see how Elysium are able to come back into this game, and that's really sad, at least for me. Oh, Templar Assassin deep behind enemy lines. They're going to be chasing forward for this Ember Spirit. He has not enough mana to activate his Fire Remnant, so BBK is dead. No way. Oh my god. Well, that used to be an Ember Spirit. Hookshot in. Clockwork is going to try to catch out this Lina over on the sidelines. Fissure. And they'll get a much needed kill on Shadowdui. Or will they? He will Scepter and Shadowdui will even survive. They have another Flare cooling down in 7 seconds, which would be lethal if they fire it now. But with a little bit more region, that's all that they need. And those side blades are really going to town. Ripper will get an Echo Slam. They're going to hold Urbanishka in place, but he still has the Aegis, and one more shot will kill off the Earthshaker. Net down onto Fire Fist. The Lion will also die. 24-5. Can they even kill off that Lina? Where's that Flare I was talking about? I don't think it's really going to be very relevant. He's probably going to die before he's able to throw out another one. He goes for the short range Flare, and although he lived a little bit longer than I thought he would, boo, BBK. I wouldn't want to be there. You don't have a team. It's just a Shadow Fiend and the Ember Spirit after all. And the Scary Faces are just mopping the floor with Elysium right now. This is such a demoralizing game number 1. Going into the rest of the series, this is going to be very difficult for them to deal with. I think Elysium just have to chalk this up to not having strong lanes. Even though the Shadow Fiend did pretty well against the Templar Assassin, as soon as Scary Faces started roaming around, it was pretty much all but over for the Shadow Fiend. But when that was a 1v1, I think he did just fine. So that's at least something Elysium could be happy about going into game number 2. But the Clockwork didn't get anything, really, and that's partially the fault of the Radiant side. It is a lot harder for Clockwork to get the proper cog blocks onto the creeps on the Radiant side of the map. Song of the Siren, they catch out Ember Spirit. BBK has a Remnant, I believe, up in the top spot, so it looks like he'll be able to get out to safety. Do they have the Winter's Curse in time? No. So the Ember Spirit will be able to get out to home, but everybody else maybe not so lucky. They leave 4 heroes here. BBK will go back down to the bottom area. Winter's Curse long range onto the Ember Spirit. Blink in. Templar Assassin is going to look for the 2-shot. Not able to get it entirely, but with the 3rd side blade hit, you betcha. Oh, Fire Fist is going to be dropped low, but without the meld, will at least survive one more volley of attack. So there's that. They'll chase forward for Ripper. Dagon down, because why not? State 21 has Dagon 3 on this Naga Siren, because that's just kind of the game that we're in. Less than 18 minutes into this game, Scary Faces pretty much have it in the bag. Yeah, Elysium's team just isn't that good at high ground defense without blinks on their supports. If there was a blink Echo Slam on the Shaker, maybe there's a chance for a turnaround. Or if there's even a blink on the Lion, maybe they can catch somebody out when they're going aggressively diving. But Right now, Scary Faces have the map to their own, and Elysium, BBK is going to go in, one melt strike, and he's almost dead. Ugh, BBK, not looking too healthy there, has to go all the way back to base. This Ember Spirit only has boots and a bottle of Aquila. At 18 minutes in, they're going to get a Hex on Urban Initiate. Can they follow up on this Templar Assassin? Nice Fissure will catch out two of the supports, and with the Finger of Death, they will bring down the big Templar Assassin. Suddenly, Clockwork has 1,000 gold. Remnanting forward, Ember Spirit's going to look for the chains. He has only 1 point in the chains, but it will subdue Will State 21 as well as Eknard. They'll keep him in the cogs, but instantly breaking through those. And now the Dagon on the Ember Spirit. He almost dies from just that. They look for the net. He will almost die, but not quite. Hookshot going to miss point blank, but it doesn't matter. A lot of kills going Elysium's favor, and those kills mean so much for them. If they even want a hope of coming back into this game, the small glimmer of said hope is the fact that Scary Faces are going for a little bit more unconventional items, and with just those 3 pickoffs, it's a 6,000 gold swing. I'm really hesitant to take a look at these graphs. It's not a pretty picture. We're down to about a 20,000 advantage for Scary Faces, in both net worth and experience, but at least it's not worse, I suppose. Lena is going to be deep behind enemy lines with Yule Scepter as well as Mechanism. Might get caught out here. She is very, very deep and could be pincered. They're going to bump into her. They have a Hex. They have a Fissure. Enchant Totem is going to be thrown. Fissure is going to wall her on the other side, and it looks like Shadowy should be able to survive. Clockwork, where's his initiation? Echo Slam onto Shadowy. They have the hook shot. No, they don't. They actually have that on cooldown for 20 seconds. Man drain from the high ground. Shadowy trying to run away. Looks like he's still going to survive. They just don't have the appropriate catch. Another Fissure cooling down in 1 second. Turns around for Light Strike. Ray will catch up BK. Laguna Blade. And Lena gets the kill with Cold Embrace. Shadowy's going to survive. Urn will be cancelled by the Flare. But my goodness. Everybody on Elysium was involved, except for the Shadow Fiend trying to chase that down, and here comes Ramses. He has a Desolator of his own, why not? And a Solar Crest, so much minus armor, I want to see how fast these supports pop. They'll slow down onto Fire Fist. 1, 2, 3 shots, and Ripper's down, and another Riptide from the Naga Siren, and that'll be the death of the line. Elysium needed that Lena kill. Like, there's no other way to put it, but I don't want to sugarcoat it. I really don't know why Elysium are staying inside this game. At this point, it's probably just demoralizing to keep on getting killed time and time again. At least if this happens in my pubs, I think the plan of action is pick one hero on Scary Face's side and throw everything at them and kill them. It makes you feel good. So, who is that hero actually going to be? It used to be a Shadow Fiend. I wasn't even looking there. Sorry about that. I have no idea what Shadow Fiend was doing up in the top lane alone, but he's not there anymore. Templar Assassin will keep on pushing. If Scary Faces wanted to, they very easily could just barrel down as their entire team and take down high ground. They have every right to, really. Maybe they're waiting for the next Roshan. They have a Templar Assassin trap in there, and I suppose the good news for Elysium is they have a little bit of time to wait before the Roshan is up and running. 2 minutes until Roshan has respawned. I hear Klink's going on something. That something was an Earthshaker. Right now, Elysium have no safe place on this map. They might have wards out. They have 2 pretty good wards, but there is no place they can go out to safety. Blinking Templar Assassins, Invis Klink's running around everywhere, Lena that can solo kill you, Winter Wyvern even puts up a good fight. You finally have the Mechanism up on the Shadow Fiend, but compare his items to that of the Lena. Keep in mind, this was supposed to be a support lane. She has Guardian Greaves and Yule's Scepter. Shadow Fiend has Tread's Mech Aquila. It's not pretty. They're going to go up in top lane, but Klink's just going to shoot him down. Finger of Death. They get the Klink's kill. At least that's something. Was Lion able to buy his Blink before that death? And he was. So we have a Blink Dagger up on the line and buyback available because of how much gold he got. Song of a Siren going to be thrown out in mid. They're going to set up onto Yajitsu. Meld Strike primed and ready. They're going to go into with the Mechanism. He survives for a little while longer, but that Dagon coming out from the Naga Siren is absolutely brutal. The Find Ripper. And let's see how fast it's going to take him to be ripped apart. They're going to get a Winter's Curse over on the sidelines. Laguna Blade was mostly absorbed by the Flame Guard, but all 5 heroes on the side of Elysium have dropped. The good news, however, is that they do have that Lion Blink Dagger. They kill off the Klink, so they at least get something, but that something doesn't mean much when the enemy Naga Siren offlaner has a Dagon 4, and GG will be called out by BBK. No big surprises there. 22 minutes into the game, a crushing victory for Scary Faces. No other way to put it. They outplayed from the get-go. The lanes went well, and the game went well. So I don't think that Elysium should be too downtrodden by that first game, since there really wasn't anything going for them in the first place. Just work on getting heroes that are very good at winning their lanes. Earthshaker and Lion are a fairly greedy supporting duo. They need to get their levels and can't contribute as much as, say, a Lena or a Naga Siren or even a Winter Wyvern to a lesser extent. So we'll move on to game number 2 in just a minute. I've been GrandisV, and you can follow me on Twitter at GrandisV. Shout out to Dota 2 Lounge for putting this game up on their website so that you can bet on it. And we'll be back in just a minute. See you soon.